If you're wondering how to start a business or want to start a business but don't know in what space, then this video is for you. By the end of this video, you will have a business up and running if you follow the steps I'm about to explain. This is part 2 of a 2-part video series on starting your own business. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, I would advise you to watch that first because this video continues on from that video. The link can be found here, then come back to this video and finish it off. Let's get straight into the video. The next step, continued from part 1, is we need to look at logo and branding. Once you have your name, you need to create a brand around it. Now this doesn't have to be anything too fancy to start off with, but it's a good idea to have a logo created so that you can represent your company and your brand across all your channels, all your invoices and your website, etc. from the start. You can spend as much or as little time on this as you feel is necessary at this stage. There are people you can find on sites like Fiverr, for example, who can create a simple logo for you to get started. I'll put a link down below to Fiverr. I've used them loads of times to create logos and do digital jobs for me and things like that. So it's a really good site for that. So check the link out down below. From the start, you need to have some sort of branding. The aim is to try and look like a long-established business from day one. And having poor branding and a poor company name, generic email addresses and bad websites will just put clients off. Potential clients will think if they can't represent themselves properly to the outside world, what's the work going to be like? It's probably going to be bad. So the next stage is step 6, and that is opening a bank account. So now the business is set up as its own legal entity and you have all your social media handles reserved, all your logos are sorted and everything. The next bit is a little bit more boring, but you need to open a business bank account. I highly recommend you do this step. I know people who have used a personal account to transact business money and it just creates a mess. Start as you mean to go on. Keep all business and personal expenses separate. Business bank accounts are free to open and you can open them relatively painlessly online. I recommend HSBC. I use them for all my business banking and have found them to be very good, but you go with whichever bank works for you. A little tip here is to try and open a bank account with the same bank who you currently bank with personally. Doing so means that when you are transferring cash from your business account to your personal account to pay your salary, for example, the money will clear instantly. If it's with another bank, it may take a few days to clear between the banks. So it just helps to get your money quicker, and we all want that, right? Also, another great tip for money management is to open 3 business bank accounts. The first bank account is for the main business transactions. The second account is for saving tax money. And the third account is for saving VAT money. If you'll be VAT registered as a business, this only applies within the UK. I'll go into VAT in brief later, but I will make a full video in the future on this as I feel like it's a really important topic to cover in business. VAT can bite you if you don't go about it the right way from the beginning, but it can also make you money and save you money if you do it right. Make sure you also get a contactless bank card too for when you are buying things for the business, and like I said earlier, keep all your business and personal expenses separate. You will thank me later and your accountant will thank you too. You will also save money on your accountant's bill as they won't have to do as much work on your accounts, as they don't have to go through all the different transactions that you've transacted from a business perspective and from a personal perspective. Which leads me on to the next step in setting up a business. Finding an accountant and accountancy software. Finding an accountant and finding the right accounting software from day one is really important. Finding a great accountant is really important when you are starting a business, as a good accountant should technically be free. They should save you more money than it costs to pay their fees. These fees vary between accountants and how much work is involved and how much you want them to do. But as a startup, look to pay between $800 and $1,200 a year for taking care of all your accountancy needs. This is the cost per business. In terms of accounting and invoicing software, this is something you absolutely need from day one too. It makes your life so much easier. I've always used an online-based accounting software called FreeAgent. I found it to be simple and really effective and does everything you need and more. It makes doing things like VAT returns a breeze. I've put a link in the description below, and if you follow that link you can get a 10% discount on your software. You can use any accounting software, there are a few available out there now, just do a search online. For step 8, we need to look into VAT. This applies to the UK only, but I'm sure wherever you are in the world, there is some form of sales tax that you need to apply to what you are selling. When I'm starting a new business, I always consider if that business should be VAT registered or not. I do always come to the conclusion that a business should be registered for VAT from day one. In the UK, you do not have to register for VAT until your business reaches a turnover of at least £85,000. So why register then, I hear you ask? Well, there are a number of reasons. The first reason is that depending on the type of business you are setting up, you may have a lot of equipment to buy: computers, catering equipment, software, etc. All of these costs will have 20% VAT on top of them. So if you're VAT registered, all of your startup costs become 20% cheaper, as you can claim the VAT back for business purposes. If you're a service-only business, then there is still a good reason to register. It makes you look more professional and it makes you look like your business is turning over more than you actually are, i.e. over £85,000, which will give you credibility to new and potential customers. Also, there is a thing called flat rate VAT in the UK, which could actually help you make extra money on every invoice, but I'll cover that later in a dedicated video. The downside is if you're in a business which is supplying the end consumer, your products will become 20% more expensive to them, as the end customer cannot claim the VAT back. If you're a business-to-business enterprise, then I think it's a no-brainer to be registered for VAT from the beginning. What you do have to consider is that if you are a B2C business, which is business to consumer, and think at any point in the future your turnover will reach £85,000, I would register for VAT from day one. Nothing will annoy your customers more than if they've been coming into you for months, paying a price, then one day it's 20% more expensive because you've had to pass on the VAT to them. A lot to consider on VAT, but like I say, I will create a video on this to cover this topic on its own, as it's a section of business which deserves a bit more attention. Next, we move on to step 9, which is the business plan. The business plan is the first thing everybody thinks about when creating a business and rushes out to do. For me, a business plan is just a bunch of dream scenarios put down on paper. Every business I've ever been involved with hasn't stuck to the business plan. It just doesn't work like that in business. It's ever changing and ever evolving, and you're getting things thrown at you from all angles, and this is changing daily. I would put a basic business plan together just to get in your mind the numbers you need to break even and where you need to be. Basically expanding on the document that we talked about in step 1. Trying to create a 50-page business plan to predict the business over the next 5 years is just a waste of time in my opinion, as things will change and knock all of your plans out of the water. I use a business plan as a way of looking at the merits of the business before I even begin, and as I mentioned earlier in the video, you need to create a basic profit and loss forecast for any business that you're thinking about starting. And finally, we come to step 10. Once everything's set up, you can start getting clients. Okay, so now you're in business, you really need to shout from the rooftops and tell everybody you know about the business you've started. Leverage your existing network and ask everybody to follow you and start engaging with you and your business on social media. Don't throw thousands at marketing in the early days, start slow and build it up. You need to find your feet with the service and provide quality from day one. Don't get flooded with customers and not be able to provide them with the quality of service that they're expecting. Get your name out there via word of mouth. If you do a great job, people will recommend you, then you don't have to spend anything on advertising. For my most profitable business, I've never advertised. It has always been through word of mouth that I've generated work for that business. I do what I say I'm going to do, and when I say I'm going to do it. Integrity is a big asset in business, so make sure keeping your promises to clients is top of your list. So those are the steps you need to take in order to create a business in the UK and anywhere else in the world for that matter. Congratulations, you now have a business and you can call yourself an entrepreneur. Now you need to get some customers, and in future videos we'll be showing you just how to do that. And don't forget, when you're taking the steps in these videos, keep track of all the expenses occurred during the setting up of your business, as they're all tax deductible, meaning that you can offset these costs against your tax bill and pay less tax. I'm going to be making more in-depth videos on some of the things mentioned above, so if you'd be interested in watching them and getting your business off to the right start, then please subscribe below and hit the notification icon so that you can watch these videos as soon as they become available. I hope you found this video interesting and you have learned all you need to know about getting started in your business. I've been Lee Scott and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a great week. The YouTube algorithm believes you will love these videos. Check them out to see if they're right.